in Vietnam. And she started doing working with this program, and then they had empirical studies and clinical studies as she worked with people through World War I, World War II, well, actually World War II, not World War I, and 9/11. And it's very well studied and successful, and it transfers in lots of different situations in life. And two of the main premises of ambiguous loss is, the first one is goodbye without leaving. So as of what was the case of prisoners of war is they would, be gone for a long time, and say they were physically gone but emotionally present, and how painful that loss was, because you didn't have a beginning or an end, and you didn't know how to function. And the second one is leaving without saying goodbye. So actually that's like more military people, but the goodbye without leaving is people that maybe have dementia or extramarital affairs or severe mental illness. And we see that a lot today. People are so overwhelmed emotionally with fear and all of the stress and the grief that we're experiencing. And it's even compounded now with the protests and what's going on in our country. Our country is just really hurting right now with so many things, and people don't quite know what to do and where to turn. And so, I've heard some people say, well, the second pandemic is going to be mental illness. And I really agree with that. I've been doing a program with my individual clients, and I've started to do this with groups. And so what I'm here to tell you guys about today is to offer this group experience in a 3-session experience. So we would meet once a week for an hour each week, and we would go through this program. And the premise, or the whole tenets of the therapy, is to give you some tools to help you evaluate and reconstruct your identity. All of our identities are changing through this. We, are school teachers to our children now, and we may have extra duties at home, or, our work situation has changed. And also now we're relating differently to our neighbors and to our loved ones. And so our identities are certainly changing. And so there's a different way to evaluate where you're at and recreate your story and tell your story to yourself. So what this would look like for you if you wanted to participate is, the first week we would meet, it's probably next week sometime for those of you that want to sign up, and it would be a 1 hour kind of educational session that we would have together. And I would present the theory of ambiguous loss and the different resiliency factors. There's 6 resiliency factors that we would go through to help you kind of get a firm footing. And there's going to be a journal that goes along with it. So there would be a lot of self-reflection on your part. And we would go through each resiliency factor, and you would journal a lot and think about over the week after we meet that first time. You would think and write about how that relates to you, and do a lot of self-reflection. And then the second week we would meet, and we would talk about what your experience was during that week and what you learned about yourself, and kind of what your thoughts are. This isn't necessarily individual therapy, so you wouldn't be telling everybody your story, but you would certainly be sharing thoughts. And we'd have to really have some ground rules and agree that there would be respect for each other, because I know that we all probably have different experiences. I've heard that this whole COVID pandemic, and also even with all of the protests and things that are going on with, our country hurting so much over race relations and what's happening, we all are in the same storm, but we're in different boats, so to speak. We have different experiences and it's harder for some of us than others. So we'd have to have respect for each other, and we're not necessarily oversharing our experiences, but we're going to share some thoughts about each of these resiliency factors. And then we'd also have some confidential, agreements that what we do or say is strictly held to this forum. And you could participate, or you could not. You could just listen in. But what I would ask is, if you decide to do it, that you do the homework and you go through the program. So typically, when I do this one-on-one with the person, I do online coaching, but I also see people in my office for private practice. I charge $150. And when I do group counseling or group practice or group program, is $50 an hour. So what I offer to John and Patty, and for you guys to do this, is that it would be $35 a person for all 3 weeks. So it's not $35 a time, it's $35 total. So that's a great discount, and you would get the journal to go through and do your homework. And what I'm hoping for is this would be just a place that you would learn some tools to help you cope with life, because I am a firm believer, as John and Patty I'm sure has talked, and Jenna too, I'm sure you guys have talked a lot through your program, it's like dominoes, right? When your physical health suffers, your mental health suffers, and it just, it's just like dominoes, it goes down the line. So if we can improve your physical health like you guys are doing, and we can make you emotionally stronger and give you some tools, then it would benefit you. So I'm excited to do it. If there's a good group of you that want to do it, it would be really fun. Does anyone have any questions, or did I cover that okay, John? Patty? Everybody's quiet.
We were muted.
Oh, we were muted.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Okay. Yes, I thought so. Does anybody have any quick questions that they would like to ask about it?
Go ahead, Laura. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Laura.
I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. When would we meet if we do this, if we sign up?
So that's actually a really good question. I didn't cover that. I am actually free to do this any day. I could do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It's kind of like what we would come up with a group consensus, but this time is actually really good for me. So we could do it at 5:30 your time, right? I'm on the other side of the country. So your time, 5:30 would be great, but I could do this Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I don't know what your schedule looks like, John and Patty.
Well, I'd like to get an idea. Just raise your hands if you think you're interested in participating. Okay, I see some hands going up. So what I would like to do is ask you to email us and give me an idea of the time, and then we'll kind of compile and see what, I know some people are working from home and they can't get away. So we've got at least 4 or 5, 6 people that I can't see. Anna, Ken, Judy, Claire, Georgiana, and Susan. So I really can't tell what your thoughts are. But if you could email, and then I can get back with you, Melissa, and tell you how many we have, and kind of we can have the time that's best for the majority. We probably can't make it for everybody the exact time they want, but we can do the best we can.
Great. Yes.
Would that work?
That's perfect. Yes. Yeah. I'll just let them email you, and then you and I will talk.
Absolutely. Okay. And I hope people partake on it, because I really do think, and Jenna and Patty and I talked about, the next pandemic is a psychological. We've talked about people that are just frightened to come out of their homes and different things like that. And I think it's important that we prepare ourselves, because I've said this on our classes before. I don't believe that this is the last virus that's going to come along, and I think we're going to see more. I think we just have to be prepared, and I think health, if we're not well mentally, we'll never get well physically. That's my opinion, okay? And so we have to work on our mental health as much as we do our physical health. And I'm so happy that Lisa's willing to do this for us, and especially at the cost that she's given us. And I think it's wonderful, and we get the handouts to you, and email all that to you in plenty of time, so that you have it in your hand and able to do what you want to do. Okay? So if anybody has questions, please reach out to us. message us, whatever, and email us so we can get some stuff going on that. So thank you very, very much for that. And I see Maggie just signed on, probably Julio's with her. We can go over this with you guys one-on-one. So if you didn't hear it, Barbara, I see you're on it. Okay. I want to give a couple shout outs to a couple people. First of all, we're going to give a virtual round of applause to Maureen. Maureen has got a birthday coming up, number 75 on Sunday. So wave, Maureen, and everybody's going to give you a happy birthday applause virtual, okay? I'm so glad to have you around, and I like to just shout out. Another one is Michael. Can Michael hear me? Oh, they haven't moved much. So Michael came in. Okay. Did it first. He's been on the program about 3 weeks, but his metabolic age has dropped. How many years, Michael? I don't know. Can you hear me? Anyways, it was like 8 years in the first 3 weeks of the program. Great job. Body fat dropped tremendous. He just put his heart into it.
It was 810.
Go ahead, Michael. Okay. All right. You guys are breaking up, so we can't hear, but good job, Michael. Way to go. Keep up the good work. And everybody, just want to get some motivation from that. Tonight, we're going to talk about sabotage. Okay, and we all have it, we all do it, and we have to understand what it is. Okay, we wonder why we don't get healthy. We wonder why things aren't working the way we want. And in my opinion, 90% of it is us. It's us. We don't do the things that we need to do on a regular basis. All right, and so what we have to do is, first and foremost, if we're going to be healthy, we have to make a commitment to our personal transformation. You know, I find in my years of doing this, 21 years of doing this, I talk to so many people that say, I want to be healthy. And there's a huge difference between wanting to and doing it. All right? And the whole problem is with ourselves and with all of us, we want many, many things that will make us better, whether it's our health, whether it's finances, whether it's relationships, whatever it might be, we want it. And if we didn't want it, we'd be foolish. But in order to have the income you want, no matter to have the relationship you want, to have the health you want, you have to put the effort into it. It's not going to come magically. And the thing that I find is that oftentimes we put our health last. You know, it's so important to make the money. It's so important to have the relationships. You know, we want to go out. We want to party. We want to do the things that make us feel good for the moment. And the problem with that is that we haven't dedicated ourselves to ourselves. And I find that in order to dedicate and take care of yourself, first and foremost, you have to make that commitment, but you also have to make a commitment to yourself and love yourself enough, and love yourself as much or more than you do the money and the relationship. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, none of that will come to fruition. So we have to make the commitment. And like I mentioned, Michael, when he got on the program, he said, I'm going to do it, and that's it. There's another gentleman, Danny, who is, he might be on with Susan, but I talked to him yesterday, and after the first week, he was surprised. His knees quit hurting after just a few days on the program. But he made the commitment to change, and already he's seeing the change in his body, okay? So we have to make the commitment. That's first and foremost. But what is self-sabotage, okay? Self-sabotage is behavior. It's our behavior. And oftentimes what happens is we blame everything else. It's, you know what, my spouse wants to do this, or and when I go to work, they bring in the donuts, or, you know, I went to the grocery store and they have something on special. And what we do is self-sabotage is because we decide that we're going to let the little things get in the way of our behavior. And those behavior problems create problems in our life and interferes with our long-standing goals. The goals that we look in the mirror and say, I want to lose 30 pounds. I want my body to quit hurting. I want my skin to look better. And those are our long-term goals. Just like you say, you know what, I'm in a relationship and I want to be with this person for 30 years. Well, if you let the little things get in the way, obviously that's not going to happen. Okay, it can't happen and it won't happen. So when we start talking about our health, and that's what we're here to talk about, it's really the same thing, all right? So one of the biggest things is procrastination. Procrastination, and we've all done it. I've done it. I talked to Patty. She said she's done it. We do it because we say, you know what, I know I need to do it, but I've got this coming up. It's summertime and I want to go out. I want to do whatever it may be. Or I'm going to start Monday, or I'm going to start the first of the month or the first of the year. We always have a reason to put it off. And the problem with procrastination is that the longer we put off getting well, the less well we are. So if we actually ever start getting well, it's even harder because we put it off and we're less healthy now than we were had we started it before the first of the month, or before the first of the year, or before Monday came, okay? A lady was in here today. We talked about putting her on a Candida program, and I said, when do you want to start? She said, tomorrow. And that is the best way to be. Just, you know, it's kind of like jumping in the pool and the water's cold. Don't stick your toe in it and say, oh, it's cold, and back away. Just jump in. It's okay. So for a second, you're going to feel that cold. For tomorrow, she's going to go through some withdrawals. But you know what? She's on her way, and get rid of the idea that, you know what, I've got to wait because I've got to do better shopping. I've got to get certain foods in my house. Some of you will laugh about this. I've had people say, my freezer is full of food that I'm not supposed to eat, but I don't want to go to waste, so I'm just going to eat it and wait until it's gone. All those kinds of things are procrastination, and they're nothing more than excuses to prevent you from getting on with what you want in your life. Self-medication is nothing more than eating those foods. Using different drugs to say, you know, I need to relax, alcohol, I got parties to go to. That's all procrastination. We know that we shouldn't be doing it. Just like comfort eating. Comfort eating is, I go home, I'm tired, I had a bad day, Patty was miserable today, whatever excuse I want to make, so I am going to eat something that I know I shouldn't. But I do it because it makes me feel good for the moment. For the moment. And I have a long running conversation with the lady who's going to turn 75 on Sunday. We talk about this every time. And if you can see Maureen, nod your head because she knows and she doesn't mind me saying that. We have to get away from the comfort things. What happens is we take on so much things that we can't change. And in order to make us feel better, because we run ourselves down, we do things, whether it's alcohol, whether it's food, and most of it's just sugars. Nobody comfort eats going out and buying a pound of celery or carrots. That's not comfort eating, that's healthy eating. And when we feel bad, we want the things that make us feel good for the moment. But long term, as I said earlier, we have to look at the long term. So self-injury and stuff, that's self-sabotage. That's taking you and making yourself less healthy for the moment, thinking that that's going to make you feel good in the long run, but it's completely opposite. Now, how do we stop self-sabotage, okay? there's many, many reasons why we act the way we act, okay? A lot of it is things that happen to us way back in our life as children, young children, 3 to 8 years old. It's in our subconscious. Many of us, myself included, I look at myself sometimes and go, why did I eat that? Why did I do that? And the problem is it's in our subconscious. And our subconscious creates an environment that when certain things happen to us now, we revert back there. And then we do things that we might have done then, but it wasn't good for us then and it's still not good for us now. And oftentimes people spend their whole lives struggling with super cravings that they've had for their whole life. But it's not so much that they want the food. What they really want is relief from what's going on in their mind, what's happening in our environment today, as Melissa talked about just a little bit ago. The struggles that are going on. We see things and we go, why? What can I do? Well, the only thing you can do is take care of yourself and love the people next to you. But you can't love them unless you take care of yourself. You can't take care of them and do the world better unless you take care of you and the things that you are in control of. And so we have to get rid of saying, I want to do things that are detrimental to our health, which many times the temptations includes obviously food and drink, okay? But there's many other things, gambling, toxic relationships. Again, you know, I talk to so many people. A young lady's telling me that she's in a relationship where her partner comes in and he drinks too much and there's violence and it just goes on and on and on. And she said, then I get so upset that I just go and I'll eat a quart of ice cream because I just feel so miserable. The problem is we're not changing our life. We're just sabotaging ourselves and we're letting other people sabotage us. So the next time you say, I ate this food because my husband, my wife brought it home, shame on you. You don't have to eat it. Unless that person puts a gun to your head and says, eat, you don't have to. You can say, no, thank you. I don't want to eat it. I don't feel like eating it. I want to eat the healthy things. If you're going to shop, bring those things home to me. That's how we stop sabotaging, and that's how we teach other people what we want from them, and we teach them what we really need for ourselves. And if that person cares for you, they are going to start migrating to the way you're thinking rather than the toxic issues that they're enduring. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about 5 ways that I want to talk about how we can stop self-sabotage, okay? First thing, we have to stop dwelling on if only. Now, what does that mean? How many times have you heard people say, if only this hadn't happened? If only we hadn't had that party? If only whatever. It's all if only. And it can go into not only just eating and drinking, but it can go into relationships. If only I hadn't met that person, okay? Well, you did. So what we have to do is, and we're all going to make mistakes, we're all going to have regrets about things that we did. You know, if I hadn't dropped out of college, if I hadn't went to college and ran up so much bills, if I only would have not went to the casino and gambled my money, etc. Okay? So we have to get rid of the not only things, but we have to grow up and understand that we don't have to be our parents. If our parents did certain things, we don't have to do the things that our parents did or the things that we thought were okay, but now we've realized. And we have to migrate forward and say, this is me, this is my life, and I have to make the change. So all of us have grown up in different environments and different ways. And sometimes we just have to say, you know what, I got to change. I've got to be different. Number 2, we have to stop being afraid of our thoughts, all right? One of the easiest ways to ensure that a thought will have power over you is to try your hardest to suppress that thought. we don't want to suppress. Now, I find, and maybe it's just me, but I think more men suppress their thoughts than women do. And I think that's one reason why, we have higher suicide rates and different things like that, because we suppress it. We want to be tough and strong. And you know what? I'm not going to shed a tear. I'm a guy. I'm tough. All right. And we have to understand we can't be afraid of our thoughts. We've got to be able to say what is on our mind, as long as we are not belittling somebody else and we're not hurting somebody else. But there's nothing wrong with your friends and your loved ones to be able to tell them, this is the way I feel. This is what's bothering me. You know what? You're bringing food in the house that's just detrimental to my health. And if somebody becomes upset by that, then that is their problem, not your problem. And we have to get in the idea that oftentimes people say, well, my husband tells me, don't worry about losing weight. You're fine. But you're not fine. If you look at yourself and you say, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I feel, it doesn't matter. Tell the person, this is my thoughts. This is what I want. This is what I need. And this is what I need from you to help me to attain the goals that I want. Number 3, we have to stop bearing and we have to unmask our feelings, which kind of goes along with our thoughts, okay? And they say it's a close cousin to avoid bothersome thoughts is trying to bury or mask feelings deemed unacceptable. People think that to fully acknowledge feelings means yelling obscenities in the grocery store or at the gas station or at the bank when you have to wait in line or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. I don't mean that we have to be rude and we have to be angry. In fact, we don't want to be angry. But we have to let ourselves feel things by unleashing our emotions onto the world at large. And we see that a lot as we watch TV in the last week or so. People are unleashing, and I feel that a lot of people have kept things buried inside. They've kept it stored away, whether it's their anger about the pandemic and being locked up, whether it's about the race relations over the years, whatever it may be, that people just have it unmasked. And all of a sudden, it just comes out in a fury. And we see people doing things that I honestly believe that most people wouldn't do under normal circumstances, had they all along been kind of expressing themselves in a polite and proper way. All right? And we have to acknowledge our feelings. And the people that love us have to be willing to allow us to share our feelings with them. Because if you can't share your feelings with the person that you feel the closest to and that you love, then who are you going to release it to? They should be able to do it to us. We have to be able to do it to them. And as long as we keep it in an understanding and a kind way, then what we're going to do is we are going to get away from the self-sabotage of doing things in anger, doing things impulsive. So we have to communicate, and communicate is probably the most important thing when you go back to our thoughts and unmasking feelings. Number 4 is start now, not tomorrow. Okay, not next week, not the first of the month, not the first of the year, not when the freezer's empty of food, not after you have an opportunity to get to the grocery store and buy all the things on the legal food list. Start now. If you have unhealthy food in your freezer, don't eat it. It'll be there when you get yourself well, or somebody else will eat it, or give it to somebody else that needs it or doesn't care about their health, okay? So, if you've eaten a third of a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies before noon, or you're completely frustrated that that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you've gotten a little work done, most times our natural reaction is to abandon the rest of the day and visualize what we can do for tomorrow. But it's never tomorrow. Because tomorrow, if we do that, we have to wait till the next day because you're never going to be in tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is always one day away. Next week is always 1 week away, and next year is 1 year away, okay? We have to say right now, if you've eaten a third of a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies or anything else, and you realize, why am I doing this? You need to wrap it up, get rid of it, throw it away, because that's part of stopping self-sabotage. That is a goal. You said to yourself, I don't need this, and I'm starting now. And you don't beat yourself up because you ate that third of a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies. So you say to yourself, you know what? I've done this. It's wrong. I shouldn't have done it to myself. I've been rude to myself by doing it. So right now, this moment, if I'm still hungry, I'm going to go and get my Slenderade, or I'm going to go and I'm going to get the carrots or the salad out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to eat that and fill up with that. But you do it now, not saying, I've already eaten a third, there's only 2/3 left, you know what, I'm going to finish it and then I'm going to start, because that'll never come. All right? Number 5, keep up with positive routines. If you're successful in what you're doing, keep doing it. If you're unsuccessful with what you're doing, if you're looking at yourself and you're saying, I don't like the way I feel and look, then change it. Just do a 180. Say, okay, I've been doing this, I've been eating late, I've been eating sweets. Okay, a 180 is I don't eat late, I get rid of all the sweets. That's a step. But once you start doing it, and so many times people do the right thing, they feel so much better, and they do what I call, they celebrate. I've done so well, I've lost weight, I feel good, and everybody tells me I look fabulous, okay? You look marvelous. So what do? We celebrate. But what happens is when we celebrate, we get away from the positive routine, because our brain comes up and says, I deserve a treat. I deserve a celebration. And what happens is we eat the things that we used to eat that made us feel unhealthy, and we get away from the things that we were eating and doing that made us healthy. And then once we get in the bad habit, it felt so good, and everybody's telling you you did so well, that we all of a sudden fall backwards and we get into the bad habits. And it's just like exercise. We talk about this all the time. When you are exercising, you can't wait to exercise. When you quit exercising, it's so hard to get back to exercising, okay? So you gotta keep up with the positive, and no matter how good you feel, keep it going, all right? So, now, the struggle with food obsessions. An unhealthy relationship with food is not about weight management. It's about pain management, okay? None of us eat food because we just say, you know what, that cake is here, I am going to eat it because it tastes so good. Everybody, almost everybody says, I was eating it, I know I shouldn't have eaten it, and I just kept eating it. And it's because our mind, we've got our mind in the wrong area, we've got our mind on the wrong things, we've got our mind on the negative rather than the positive. Because the positive doesn't say eat the cake, the negative says eat the cake, okay? The positive says take care of yourself. The negative says I don't give a damn. Well, we have to understand we're saying that or feeling that because it's pain management. There's something about it in our brain that is saying, I don't care about myself. That's where you need to turn and get your thoughts with someone that cares about you, whether it's a family member, whether it's a counselor, whether it's somebody that says, hey, let's get to the root of this. Where's this pain coming from? Because if I can solve the pain, it's going to be much easier to solve the relationship that I have with food, with alcohol, with sodas, with sugar, with gambling, with whatever it may be that's creating my obsession. And right now we're talking about food, and food is probably the hardest thing to get rid of because you have to eat. You don't have to smoke, you don't have to drink. You can get it out of your home, you can get it away from you, but food is there. We walk in the grocery store and we get food, okay? We eat 3 times a day at least, and we're constantly putting food in our body. Nobody is ever going to stop you on the highway because you're driving down the highway eating a Big Mac, okay? So it's legal. Nobody's even going to care. I laugh, and we've said this before, in my Southwick office, right across the parking lot, it's a McDonald's and a Dunkin' Donuts. The lines are wrapped around the building. Those people know, I guarantee if I could take a survey and go down and ask them, why are you at McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts and eating that food all the time? They know, they would tell me to a person, I know it's not healthy, but it's something else is going on, okay? Whether it's the ease of it, I don't want to take the time to cook, I don't want to take the time to shop, my kids want it, whatever it might be, there's some reason that we're doing it. So we have to get to the crux of the problem, and that's when we talk about dealing with the whole body, not just, and that's why we will never ever talk about weight. It's about wellness. We have to do wellness, okay? So there's different chemicals in our body that actually help us to take care of us, and we have to, these are natural chemicals that are in our body. Dopamine makes you sleepy and tired. Okay, now dopamine is good at the right time of the day, but it's certainly not good during the day if you're working, if you're trying to get things done, because it makes you sleepy. Now, what do we do if we become sleepy during the day? Most of us will do what? Drink coffee. Okay, caffeine stimulates. Oh, then you know what? I don't like plain coffee, so I'm going to put sugar in it. Oh.
Oh, okay. We're back.
Okay. Did I lose you? Jenna, can you hear? Okay.
You guys can hear us?
Raise
I
your
can
hand.
hear you now.
We can.
Did you
Yep.
miss me? Okay. So I want to get back to the chemicals. So accelerates appetite. All right. So what happens is, if this chemical is out of balance in our body, what happens is we want to eat more. And normally when we want to eat more, when this is the thing, we want the wrong foods, the foods that we should not be eating. Now we have a product called Slenderade. We have our instant meals. We have our Simply Sweet to help to balance that so that you don't have to eat the sugars and the different things that will make you come out of the sleepiness like sugar. Or we want to decrease the appetite. Leptin decreases appetite. That's what we want. So as you get healthier and you have more leptin in your body, you're not going to be as hungry. I remember when I was unhealthy, I used to want to eat not 3 times a day, more like 30 times a day, okay? Something always had to be in my body. But now, for example, today, I had a decent breakfast. I had an instant meal about 2 hours ago, and I'm telling you, I'm not hungry. But that means my leptin levels are higher, so I'm not hungry, okay? And that comes with keeping a routine, keeping a positive and healthy routine. Hedonic versus homeostatic. Homeostatic means that we're balanced. If we're not balanced, we're going to be doing the wrong things. We're going to be thinking wrong, we're going to be acting wrong, we're going to be speaking wrong. But if we're on homeostasis, we're balanced. Again, talking to somebody today, talking about, they said lemon juice gives them acid reflux. Well, you don't have homeostasis. You're acidic. Your body's acidic. And when you put alkaline into something that's acidic, you're going to have a reaction. So I tease Maureen all the time. I love teasing her because she takes it so good. But when she eats bread, she gets sick. So what does that mean? To Maureen, that means don't eat bread, okay? Because if you do, you're going to get sick. So we have to get on that homeostasis level, homeostatic, and just balance ourselves. And our body will tell us in the long run what is good for you, what isn't good for you. It'll tell us, because if you overdo it, you're going to feel horrible. If you drink too much, you're going to feel nasty in the morning. So we have to start saying, you know what? How often do I have to put my hand on the hot stove before I realize it burns? And that's part of getting our body in a homeostatic state. Okay, so what happens is we have the neurotransmitters in our body, and what we want everything to be centered and balanced, okay? So neurolephrine, energy, alertness, and concentration, serotonin, helps with memory, obsession, and compulsion, impulse, anxiety, irritability. We have dopamine, which, we already talked about that, makes us sleepy. So we're going to have all of these neurotransmitters, we're going to have all these chemicals running through our body, but we want everything to come to the center, and we want to have the mood and the cognition, our brain. Our brain really tells us everything that we need to do. And again, last week we talked about the gut-brain connection, and this is really the brain, the neurotransmitters from the brain, and this is how all this works from the gut level. So last week we talked about the gut, and this week we're talking about the brain. But if you're going to eat wrong, all of those neurotransmitters are going to be thrown off. So you're going to be in a bad mood. And I bet all of you can tell me that at one time or another, somebody that ate bad, or yourself that ate bad, drank too much, did the wrong things, what kind of a mood are you in? What kind of mental clarity do you have? And it always goes hand in hand. And I know people get sick and tired of me telling them, when they tell me issues that are having, I say, it's what you're eating. It's what you're eating. Now, and I go back to the idea that I get people that say, one gentleman in particular, he's not on here, so I don't want anybody to think I'm talking about them, but his wife breaks down his supplements every week, or every day of the week, every day, and gives it to him. And he tells me, John, I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. I'm taking all your supplements. And I say, well, how are you eating? He goes, and he won't answer me, but his wife tells him, horrible. If you eat horrible, you can take every supplement I have in my room, and you're going to be unhealthy, period. It starts and ends with food. Nutrients help. They fill in the gaps. So when we do the Zyto test, it tells me this is what you need now based on what is going on in your body. But if you eat bad all the time, you're going to need so much that you can't do it, because it's all about the fuel you put in your body, which is food, hydration. That governs your mental clarity, it governs your gut health, it governs the health of your body, okay? So when we use an active or substance to numb pain or alter moods, we create pleasure pathways in our brain. So the pleasure pathways actually guides us in ways that's easiest for us to go. Okay, the pleasure pathways are the easy ways. The non-pleasure pathways are the things that happen when we change and we go, I don't like eating carrots. I don't like the celery. It doesn't have the flavor I'm looking for. That's because your brain is saying, remember these pleasure pathways with the sugar? Remember how good that felt? And that's an addiction. And we have to overcome the addictions. So the brain can use these pathways whenever you want to alter the way you feel. So if you want to feel good for the moment, you can go that direction with sugars. If you want to feel and feel better, look good better in the future, you have to change those. Because most people will tell you, after doing a program, the vegetables that they didn't like, the foods they didn't like, tastes pretty good now, all right? It kind of goes back to kids. You've heard people say, well, my kids won't eat vegetables. You know what? If a child gets hungry enough, they will eat vegetables and they will learn to like the vegetables. But let's face it, we are all children. In our brain, we're all children. We're all kids. We want the pleasure pathways. I want the thing that makes me feel good right now, okay? I don't want to wait a week to make that food that tastes good for me. I want it now, especially when I'm stressed. So we have to understand. And furthermore, people that finish the program oftentimes will go back to coffee, go back to certain things that they used to eat and tell me, that didn't taste good. I didn't like it. That's because you opened up new pleasure pathways. Now, if you go back to the old ways, those pleasure pathways will resurface and your brain will say, hello, welcome back, and let's go down that highway, all right? Okay, what I want to do, your brain on sugar, okay? Sugar is the most evil thing there is. It is also the most pleasurable thing there is, which kind of stands to reason. So if you look at the brain, the receptors response to sugar, okay? A sugar addict's brain scan is the one on the left, and the no eating issues of people is on the right, okay? So this is an actual MRI of a brain scan showing how the brain reacts to sugar. Let's face it, sugar feeds cancer. And so if you think about the value of sugar, there is no value. The only value is the pleasure pathways that we talked about, okay? But it's instantaneous, it doesn't last, and it's going to break down our immune system over time. So we have to go to the idea that we've got to get rid of sugar. It's hard. I guarantee you it's hard. Sugar intake eventually blunts the dopamine release, just like cocaine, all right? So look at the chronic intake of sugar and cocaine. Now, it is said that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And oftentimes we talk about things being natural. Yes, sugar is natural. Cocaine is natural. But both of them we want to get out of our life, okay? I will tell you that obviously you don't ever want cocaine. I hope everybody agrees with that. But what we want to get away is sugar should be a treat. It should be just once in a while. And I hope that when you do sugar, you realize, you know what, I have a headache, I don't feel as well, I didn't sleep as well. Then that tells you, you know what, you put your hand on the hot stove, you got burnt a little bit, don't do it again. Stay away. Think before you put it in your mouth. Dr. Nelson used to always say that, you know, every time you put something to your mouth, it's either going to help you or hurt you. And that's what you need to be thinking. And if most of the time you're doing the things that hurt you, then you want to get away from it. We want to do the things that help us. So if I put the salad to my the fork of lettuce or whatever it is to my lips, that's going to help me. It doesn't make me well immediately. But you know what? You put sugar in, that makes you less healthy immediately. The brain, the gut, your sleep, and all your whole system, your whole chemical system gets thrown out, okay? All right, so brain activity, again, we kind of went over this. What happens? Higher activity, the red, lower activity, the yellow. So it shows here that cocaine use causes a decrease in glucose metabolism in the brain, especially in the frontal lobes, where planning, abstract thinking, and regulation of impulse behavior are governed. So if we have to use our brain to do the things that we want to do, then we have to take care of the brain, and it's done by not putting in the sugars and the drugs or whatever it might be in our body, okay? So just a quick lesson about the brain. All right, so the thing is, nobody changes. Nobody that's listening, nobody I've ever talked to, nobody I'm ever going to talk to is going to change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. Because when we change, there is pain. There is pain. No matter which direction you go, there's pain. In everything we do in life, not just eating, but it's relationships. It is in positive or negative. It is in our drinking. It's people that gamble. There's a change. It's hard to change, okay? But we have to change, and we have to realize that what we're doing to ourselves is paining us if we're not doing the right things. And to make that turn is hard, because other people tell us we don't need to. But we need to tell them, it's my life, my body, my brain. I need to take care of it. If you can't understand it, you might not be a friend of mine. And Melissa talked about relationships a little bit, okay? So sometimes our friends might not be the friends we want if they're not willing to work with us and help us get through and cross the bridge of pain. So we have to make that change. Okay, there is no do. It's do or do not. There is no try. Okay, you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. We don't try to change. We are either going to do it or we're not. All right. Don't stand in the middle of the road. Get one side or the other. And if you're not going to fix yourself, okay, that's okay. But at least make a decision, because that'll be easier for you to live with than standing in the center wondering, should I or shouldn't I? All right, I want to open it up for questions. Okay, so let's, if you want to have a question, raise your hand or unmute yourself one at a time. Who do I have? No questions? Kim or Deb?
Can you see me, John?
Go ahead.
Is that Kim?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi. Sorry, we're having internet here.
Okay, I didn't hear hardly anything.
I think we just lost her.
Oh, we have two hands raised.
Go ahead, Deb.
I was interested in the serotonin thing, because I'm still, my eating's been pretty on point, and I was laughing because like my idea of cheating was, I was telling Jenna that I had a BLT. I felt horrible afterwards. This was like weekend before last, but we celebrated getting our first like heirloom tomato from a farm stand of the season. And I was going to make myself a lettuce and tomato. And I thought, oh, a couple slices of bacon won't hurt. And then I felt like crap. And it was the bread, the bacon. Then I had a little mayonnaise on it. And I'm like, ugh. But
It might
it's
have been
like
all the above.
the tomato is really good though too. But it's, in reading this, I was thinking the serotonin, if there was just a supplement to like up my serotonin from Elise, would that eliminate those cravings and stuff?
Yes, there is a supplement that we carry for serotonin. Serotonin works very well with the melatonin. Okay, so a lot of times if you're eating wrong, your serotonin levels can be off if you're eating late at night, etc. But to be honest with you, the cravings are more your blood sugar than it is anything else. Okay, you have the pleasure pathway to your brain. You saw that, you wanted it, okay, for whatever reason, which is okay. But you had developed a pleasure pathway in a different direction. And then you got used to eating because you've done very, very, very well for yourself, okay? And your body changed. That's the great thing about changing your body. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about it if I were you at this point. What I would tell you is just know that mayonnaise isn't good for you. The bread that you're eating isn't good for you because that's a carb. The carb metabolizes into sugar, okay? So your body kind of said, that's not something I really want. So if you recognize that and realize that that's not something you're going to do in the future, that'll take care of itself for the most part. But we do have a supplement for serotonin we can talk about.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. I think Maggie had a question.
We just got our hand up.
Okay. Somebody go. Judy, do you have a question? Maggie, do you have a question?
Yes, I had a question, John, about maple syrup as a type of sugar. I know when I've done the detox and I finish, or if I just have cravings, I might have some of that. And even when I'm not on the detox, I'll have it with some cacao and nuts, and it's very satisfying. But then I start eating too much of it.
Okay.
So is it better than chocolate, though? I mean, is it?
Yes,
It
it's
still
better than
seems like it's.
chocolate.
It still seems like it's an addiction, though, because it's, you know.
Okay, well, let me explain to you. We're going to be addicted to something. Every single person is addicted to something. Don't ever think we don't all have addictions, okay?
Mhm.
We have to control the addiction. I always say, I used to be addicted to coffee. I mean, I had to have a cup of coffee in my hand all the time, virtually. I gave that up because when I came off of coffee, the headaches were so severe that I said, I will never do coffee again. And I have for 21 years. But now I have to have water. Patty will tell you, I'm in West Hartford now, if I was to go downstairs and work with somebody downstairs, I would have to run back up and get my water if I forgot it, because I need it sitting there. That's my addiction. So anybody who tells you they have no addiction, they're fooling themselves, okay? So we have an addiction. You have to control the addiction. So Judy, the best thing for you to do is, when you do something with maple syrup, you just tell yourself, this is all I'm going to have today. So you have a small amount or whatever it is, and that's all you have. It's kind of like back in the old days when we did programs, we used to let people eat Triscuits. Anybody remember eating Triscuits? Okay. And I'm telling you, if you get a box of Triscuits, you are going to eat the whole box of Triscuits. Okay. So, right, Trudy? Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to eat the whole box. So you have to pick out 10 and say, that's it. Put it away and train yourself. That's it. That's all. And that's your treat. All right.
Okay.
What happened is with me, I used to get a box of Triscuits, and by the end of the day, the box of Triscuits was gone. Okay. And then I was wondering, what else can I have? But that's training your brain rather than, and maple syrup is the only sugar in the world that doesn't create an instant reaction. So it's not making you want more sweets, but you have to control how much you're going to have. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, and I don't feel sick from it, but I just crave it because it's sweet and because I mix it with healthy food too, you know, so I feel like I can justify it.
We can overeat healthy food. All right.
Yeah,
Really, the only thing you're not going to overeat is vegetables. Okay. So you're not going to overeat vegetables, but anything else, you can overeat healthy food. So we just have to keep that in mind. All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Programs help so much because it controls that, and your pleasure pathways get changed. All right. But most people just can't do it on their own. Who else has a question? Did Jane have one? Nobody else has a question? Did Kim get back on?
No, that's Kim, let's try Jana too. Oh, there's Georgiana coming back. Oh, she was. So there's
Okay.
Georgiana. Okay.
Who's got a question?
I don't know.
Okay, anybody else have a question?
I have one more, John.
Okay,
So if leptin decreases appetite, what are some foods that are high in leptin?
okay. For me to give you an educated list, I'd have to look it up. I know I've got some lists, but I can certainly give you the foods that have high levels of leptin, okay? But I know that, and one of them is lemon juice. I know has high levels of leptin, but I know you're not going to walk around drinking lemon juice, okay? So let's, Patty is going to, yeah, leptin. So let's, oh, guess what? Salads.
Leafy green.
Okay, leafy greens. All right. So let's see. Is there
Where'd you
more?
go?
Primarily leafy greens, things that are alkaline, Okay, so I'll get some more. I'll get some more for you before, and email it to you.
Thank you.
Okay, who else has a question? Georgiana, do you have a question?
I have a question.
Okay, Barbara.
So what is that cocoa? I'm not saying it right. What does it do?
Cacao?
Cacao, thank you.
I don't want to answer that.
So cacao is just a natural chocolate, really. It's just made from the bean, cacao bean, which is how they make chocolate. So cacao is usually bitter in its raw sense. So if you think of cocoa powder is more processed than cacao. Cacao is healthier, and like I said, it's bitter. So it's got your, whatever chocolate, when they say dark chocolate is good for you, well, you're better off with doing cacao than a dark chocolate candy bar. So,
Patty,
you're better off doing the Molly's chocolate instant meal.
can I interrupt and say, because I eat the cacao a lot, there's 0 sugar in it.
Right?
And it's also no lactose, so I don't get headaches from it either, like I would chocolate, even dark chocolate. So
Well,
it just,
Yeah, because it doesn't have the sugar. So that's part
Yeah.
of it. Does
Right.
that answer your question, Barbara?
Yeah, so it's good for you too. I mean, because I just know I have a friend, she eats it.
It's good in moderation.
Like in your breakfast. I think she does a smoothie or something with it.
Like anything else, moderation. Moderation.
Yeah.
Georgiana, what did you have?
I missed the beginning. Could you say in 1 or 2 sentences what the speaker was talking about? I didn't have an internet connection.
Okay, she's going to offer a special class on mental wellness for people that want to sign up. So it's Dr. Nelson's daughter, who has a master's in social work. And what we'll do is, how about if I'll ask Jenna to call you tomorrow and explain it to you. How would that be? Would you do that, Jenna, for me? Make a note. Okay, Georgiana, you might like this part. I think you might, but she's break down some things. So who else has a question?
Annette has a question.
Okay, Annette?
Oh. I just have to say this was so informative. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just had to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. And Annette, welcome. It's so good to see new faces. Your sister Nancy was on last week. She's on again this week, and I'm so glad she got you. And Heather couldn't be on because it's her anniversary and she got invited out to dinner. I didn't think it was dinner, but nonetheless, I told her they should celebrate their anniversary looking at me, but she didn't even buy that.
Well, I'm thrilled I was invited.
Well, I hope you join us next week.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Well,
I liked it.
Patty.
Sure. Maggie had a question. I think she's.
Me.
Oh, Nancy. Okay, Nancy.
Yeah. Hey, Patty,
Yeah.
can you get my sister Annette's email address so that you can keep her in touch with things too from now on?
You bet.
Thank you.
Let me,
And Annette, you can just send a message. Oh, okay. Okay. Anybody else have a question? I keep asking Maggie, but I thought I swore she had her hand up. But I see Dawn came on. Hi, Dawn. Say hi. Okay. All right. If nobody else has questions, I'm so glad that you all were here. Yeah, Dawn.
who that is.
Hi, Jenna.
Hi. How are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm doing fine. I got late. Patty, could you also send me the information for the class where Dr. Nelson's daughter would be given, please?
Yes.
I certainly will.
I'll have Patty do that for you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
This is the most fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody. I hope you learned something. This is not a fix-all. You know, you listen to this, but if you get one thing out of it, just one thing, use that one thing as a springboard. All right. For those of you who feel that you need to get on a formal program, let us know. Let's do, for the new people, we can send the Zyto scans to you and do them remote. We can do programs remote. We can do virtually anything to get you healthy. And if you have any questions as to how we follow up and do things, talk to people that are on the Zoom with you, they'll tell you. But we don't have to be unhealthy. I was unhealthy. I was terribly unhealthy. And the last 21 years have been fabulous compared to the years before that. But it took change, all right? Patty was, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, that was me 21 years ago. You can see it on. Okay? Got to get closer?
I'm just getting closer to the camera for you, for them.
No.
That poor dog.
Hey, hey. Are you talking about me or the dog itself? Come on. And so, not to be outdone, but this was Patty and her daughter when she first came into me. And I won't show you Jenna's picture because she'd get mad. Okay, because change can happen. Change can happen, but we have to do it upstairs, gut health, we have to do it all. We can't just do little bits, okay? You gotta take care of your whole body. You gotta start loving yourself. So if you picked up something, start with that. If you have questions, concerns, let me know. So today, as I always do, we give a special for the people that have stayed on the whole time. This week, because what are some of the things you can do to replace those things that give you the pleasure, the pathways, are instant meals, okay? So I'm gonna keep the instant meals on sale, 10% off of people that are on maintenance plans, you get another 10%. All of our supers, you can take the supers and mix them all together. They make a great drink along with the radiance, okay? So if you're worried about your hair, you're worried about your skin, you're worried about your nails, radiance helps, okay? And arthritis and stuff like that, it helps. It won't fix everything, but at least it'll get you pointed in the right direction. So 10% off of instant meals, 10% off of all the supers, the 3 supers, and the radiance, okay? And that will run through, you have to place your order by the close of business on Wednesday.
He doesn't listen to me.
Okay, you have to place your order by the end of Wednesday, and you get the extra discount. And I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to love yourselves, and just know that we're here to help you in any facet that we can. Our places are opening up so we can start doing wraps and the facials and do all the fun stuff that Jen and Patty love to do. And we want to see you. If you're not comfortable coming in, wait, okay? You don't have to, but we'll get it to you. I don't charge you for shipping, etc., because I want to help and take care of you because we love each and every one of you, okay? I thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Jenna, Patty, and I are here. Call us if you need anything. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. So thank you. Say your prayers. Pray for our country. Pray for everybody around you and your loved ones. Take care of yourself. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.